We're here with Tim Moen here in Vancouver at the Sons of Anarchy event. Tim, how did the night go? It was a packed house in there.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, it's a perfect event for Sons of Anarchy. I am always uplifted and hopeful when I see rooms like that, thirsty to hear the message of liberty. And it's happening across the country, and it's exciting that it's the same thing happening in Toronto and Ottawa and Saskatoon and Calgary is happening right here in Vancouver. So yeah, I'm stoked.
I mean, what does that say about the progression of the movement? Because even 10 years, even 5 years ago, you wouldn't see these kinds of crowds coming out to these types of events. What does that say about the success of the message of liberty getting out there amongst Canadians? Do we have momentum right now?
Yeah, I think definitely the momentum is on our side. I mean, we have a long ways to go. I mean, I'm not, making any bones about that. We got a lot of work to do. We can't rest on any laurels. But people are tired of the status quo. They've heard it all before. It's the same old message, and they're looking for something new, something fresh.
Well, when I first became a libertarian in 1962, there were very, very few libertarians. I met Murray Rothbard in '66, and I asked him, well, how many libertarians are there? And he said, 25 in the world. Well, now there are, 5 million, 10 million libertarians in the whole world, thanks to Ayn Rand and Ron Paul. So the thing is just burgeoning. I mean, even comparing 5 years ago, it's bigger. But comparing it when I started, it's like you go from zero to a lot. It's just a gigantic, gargantuan increase in the number of libertarians.
Oh yeah, no, there's definite momentum. Most certainly, yeah. And I think that the internet, for the most part, has been kind of like the electronic Gutenberg press, where the information is very accessible and spreading, and government is becoming much more transparent, right? And I think there's always that contingency that, of course, like, oh, that's a very corrupt policy, that's a very corrupt politician, let's vote and get him out. But there's also that contingency that's just kind of like stepping back and questioning the whole thing, the whole paradigm as a whole, let alone this politician or that politician.
Anarchist thinker Murray Rothbard once wrote, "If we look at the black record of mass murder, exploitation, and tyranny levied on society by governments over the ages, we need not be loath to abandon the Leviathan state." And Rothbard speaks of history, of course, but the evils of the state are being brought home to us every day of the week. So the government does things that would be considered criminal if done by ordinary people. There's a double standard there. And expropriates your money with the threat of force, funds itself, it calls it taxation. And it murders people and calls it defending democracy, or otherwise claims it for the sake of the common good. And it prevents free association with other people in the name of restricting immigration. Practically everything the state does is considered criminal if it was done by anybody else.
All political philosophies have to weigh in on these three things. That's economics, personal liberties, and foreign policy. So what's the libertarian platform on those things? Well, on economics, it's pretty simple. Laissez-faire capitalism. You can do anything you damn well please as long as you keep your mitts off and don't threaten other people and their property. Namely, you live up to the non-aggression principle. So we wouldn't have minimum wage, we wouldn't have tariffs, we wouldn't have rent control, we wouldn't have socialized medicine. Everything would be private. My motto here is, if it moves, privatize it. If it doesn't move, privatize it. And since everything either moves or doesn't move, privatize everything. That would be the economics. Personal liberties, anything between consenting adults. Now, it doesn't mean that libertarians favor prostitution or pornography or anything like that. That's libertinism. Libertarians don't necessarily favor these things. We just say it should be legal. We shouldn't put people in jail like Mark Emery was put in jail for violating the pot rules. And the third one is foreign policy. And here, if you're a minarchist, the idea is that sort of following the founding fathers of the United States, George Washington, no entangling alliances, John Quincy Adams, we don't go to foreign countries to look for dragons to slay. We favor everyone's liberty, but we protect only our own. That would be pretty much the libertarian platform.
Can a libertarian be an anarchist? Because I remember in your talk you said it can kind of come under the same umbrella, but if a libertarian has to vote, how does that work? You know, when it comes to voting, can a libertarian be an anarchist in that case?
Well, as I said in my lecture, I see 4 levels of libertarianism, and the essence of libertarianism is the non-aggression principle. Keep your mitts to yourself, don't invade other people, don't grab them or their property without their permission. And I think that the anarchist libertarians are the most pure, because government is per se an institution that invades, that violates rights by taxing people. We didn't agree to have a government and they're taxing us. Well, if a private person did that would be theft.
Liberty is a journey. It's not a destination. I mean, that sounds really cliche, but it's actually true. And so the one thing that we all have in common, whether we're, you know, full-blown anarchists or, you know, a constitutional libertarian or something like that, is that we understand the size and power and scope of initiatory force has grown out of control. And so we're all in agreement. We want to see that the problem solved in non-violent ways. And so the question is, what can we do right now in this moment, Dan, to not initiate force, to be creative, to solve problems, to connect with each other, to create community? Well, there's all sorts of things we can do. Let's talk about those. And so, you know, we don't have to fight with each other and discover differences and debate about and amplify those differences. We can all agree that what we need to do is look at ways to decrease initiatory force and increase the amount of force or amount of choice available to individuals. And so that's enough. Let's all get on board with that and organize and start repealing the tentacles of the state from around the necks of the individual.
Anarchy is just the start. Force is off the table. We're not using violence to solve any problems here. And then you engage a different gear. It's called problem solving. It's called creativity. It's called empathy, it's called compassion, it's called all these virtues that spring from that. So it's important to understand anarchy as a philosophy, I think, in that initiating force is not right. And then it's important to understand that we have to grab another gear beyond that.
Educate yourself. Educate yourself. All the information's there. Be outspoken. Speak up. Look what you're doing. You're here. You got the film crew here. You're interviewing a lot of people who've got like their own alternative stations and channels, whether it be YouTube or whatever, right? Social media. A lot of people are speaking up. There's an upsurge taking place, and I think that that's just going to build.
Rooms like this are filling up, guys. The message for liberty is strong. So it's simple. Don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff, and don't ask anyone else to do it for you. And vote for Tim for Prime Minister. Thanks.
Right now, the party is organizing. We have provincial directors across the province now. This is a first for the party. And around those provincial directors, more organizations are springing up, regional coordinators. And so the party is growing and getting out there. So, you know, that's our real goal. I think that's how we can effectively get the message out there. You know, we're on the same message, we're all saying the same things, and we're all trying to go out there where it's difficult, where our knees knock, where our voice shakes, where we're talking to people who've never heard this, who are challenging us, and we're just out there being courageous and speaking the truth, even though, you know, we might be peeing ourselves a little bit. That's where we need to be. We need to be on the edge of our comfort zone and working in coordination with each other. The time for divisiveness is over, guys.
Yeah, getting on the stage because the stage has been set for us to do this. And in fact, we may potentially be sharing a stage coming up very soon, early next year at Anarcho-Poco. What can you tell people a little bit about this event coming up in February down in Mexico, going on with Jeff Berwick there?
Well, I know that all of my Liberty idols will be there. I'm going to be fanboying all over the place. The names are fantastic. I'm surprised I was, you know, allowed on stage with these guys, quite frankly. But, you know, Jeff Berwick is a fantastic advocate for liberty. He's very well spoken, and he's put together this network of people, and they're all going to go down to Acapulco and enjoy the sun, enjoy the fellowship, and hear some inspiring and challenging messages, and you know, do some networking. I think those kinds of events are really important. You know, they get people connected and they get the network connected, and so I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being down there with a bunch of like-minded people in that environment. It'll refill up my tanks, and I'll be able to come out charging when I come back and get back in the trenches again. So.
Yeah, those are the kind of events that kind of set those ripple effects that carry out all throughout the world. So I'm very excited about being out there with you at that one as well. If people want to check that one out, if you actually check out tickets right now at anarcho-capitalism.com and you use the promo code PFT, you can get 10% off your tickets. Come down, meet Tim, meet me, come listen to us, have a little talk on the beach. Tim, thank you so much for talking to us here in Vancouver. Take care, man.
Thanks, Dan. It's a pleasure as always.